Hey everybody, today the title of this show doesn't have the word AI in it, actually, which is amazing. We kind of talk about AI pretty much every episode. But one of the things that people talk about a lot with AI is that, like, now you could get so much more done than you ever did before with a lot fewer people than you did before. And that's definitely a threat when it comes to people's livelihood. But it's also an opportunity in a lot of different ways. There's a lot of nuance to the way that you build out your team and the way that you're optimized to do stuff. But most of all, we want to talk today about how you can do all those things as a lean team. I don't even have my, hold on, I have a video for you. Here it comes. Ready, set, go. And that's the wrong video. People are going to leave because I told them to subscribe and go away. Oh my gosh. We are rough today, Ian.
They can subscribe now too. That's fine. It's okay.
Hey folks, this is WP Product Talk. We're a little off the rails, but it's kind of come together. My name is Matt Cromwell. I'm founder of Roots and Fruit.
Yeah, and I'm Ian Meisner. I'm with Kestrel. We got a whole bunch of WooCommerce extensions.
And today, before we get started, let me stay on script. I'm so messed up. Anyway, today, before we get started, if you benefit at all from WP Product Talk, we would love your help and your support. The easiest way you can help us is by hitting subscribe. You can hit subscribe in a lot of places nowadays. You can hit subscribe on YouTube. That's super helpful for us right now. You can hit subscribe or follow on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, anywhere where you might find us. We'd love your support and help. It takes only a second, but it makes a big difference.
Yeah, and we also want to say a huge thanks to Freemius, our exclusive growth partner. They help software makers grow, monetize, and succeed. So Freemius, it's a merchant of record platform that handles everything for you. They help with checkout, payments, subscriptions, licensing, updates, I think tax stuff too. So it just lets you focus on doing the product part.
All right. So today, finally, without further ado, we're going to be talking about running a lean product business. And for this, we have invited none other than Ben Sibley from Independent Analytics to join us. Ben, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks so much for having me on today.
Absolutely. Can you tell the world a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm a co-founder of the Independent Analytics plugin. It is an alternative to Google Analytics and makes it easy and privacy friendly to track what people are doing on your WordPress website.
Excellent. I love it. And you also brought this subject today of talking about a lean startup or a lean business. I'd love to hear a little bit about what's your motivation and why is this subject important to you?
Yeah, so as I settled into entrepreneurship, I always felt a little bit out of place as someone who is not fully a business person. I've always been sort of a creative person as well. And I really enjoy building things and creating things. Could be creating a product, it could be writing an article, making a video. That's really where I'm drawn. And so building the business is really satisfying, it's really enjoyable, but I've never had this aspiration of creating a large team. Even though going to business school, that was sort of almost like a measurement of success, oh, you can start a company with 5 employees and 100 employees, and a company with 10,000 employees. That's really successful. But I had to reconcile with that, with my creative side and my lack of interest in managing people. And so I would say that when it's time to cross that bridge, we'll get there. But I've actually really enjoyed scaling our company in a way that it can just be Andrew and myself, just the two of us running this company. And we genuinely haven't needed to hire help since we got started about 4 years ago.
That's awesome. That's
yeah,
really-
and I love the topic. I definitely would love to hear more thoughts on it. Before we jump in too much, I want to again thank you for coming on. But for anyone watching live right now, if you have questions, on this topic, thoughts, ideas, whatever, we encourage you to leave comments, questions, wherever you're watching, and we'll highlight comments to discuss here on the show.
Love it. So I think a couple things you said there were really interesting to me, Ben. The first one I think is more of like, how do we define success when it comes to building a business? I really like the way that you framed that in terms of like, they're in the WordPress space. People will sometimes talk about that they've built like a lifestyle business. It's like paying for itself and paying for their bills, and they're happy that way. Others are trying to grow super fast, super quick. But what do you mean by like when you say, you don't want to define success by being a big team? What do you mean by success then for you and your partner?
Yeah, sure. So I think it definitely leans a lot more towards, like what you could say, like a lifestyle business, which again, that's something I kind of learned was sort of a dirty term. It was
Mm,
almost like you've got people building serious companies and you've got, well, if you want to start a lifestyle business, almost as if it's like not a real business.
mhm.
And so I feel like maybe walk the line between those things. I definitely don't want to make a ton of sacrifices. I don't want to like give up time with my family and my friends, at least not to some extreme degree, right? And I want to be doing things that I enjoy, which again, they're not everything I do is super fun. There's a lot of stuff that's just difficult and tedious, but there's sort of these guardrails in place where I don't, my aspirations aren't to hire tons of people and basically grow at all costs and not really care about like my personal life. So I think it's about striking a balance there. And there's definitely room to pursue growth while also keeping things in check. And I think that's what a lot of this is about. It's about scaling your outputs and being careful about how you choose to spend your time so that you can scale while also maintaining that very lean structure.
I mean, there's so much to dig into there. Actually, it's the choosing. You kind of, there's like 5 different paths I could go based on what you just said, but it's specifically like the how do you decide where. How do you like decide what is the next big thing? Like, what is the thing that is going to allow you to scale your outputs? Like, do you and your partner discuss it? Like, how do you rank it? Is it by vibes? What's the approach?
Yeah, that's the secret sauce, isn't it? So the way we have our work defined, he does all development the whole time. And I think the way we both see it, product development is the most important part of the business. And I used to lean even more that way. I used to think it was like 80-20 product development versus marketing. Now I think it's maybe more like 60-40, but he is developing like full time all the time. That's important. And then for me, I pretty much do everything else. And so I'm trying to, whenever I have time, I'm going to work on marketing and growth. Otherwise, I'm focused on customer support, testing, more housekeeping kind of stuff. But um, that's pretty much how we divide the labor. And then trying to choose what feature to build next that's a whole discussion in itself. But the short version is it's an amalgamation of what do we have a lot of feedback on, what is getting the most upvotes on our feedback board, how often are people emailing us, and then how ready do we feel to actually make this feature.
I think maybe.
I love it. It's interesting.
Matt.
I've always been a little bit. We had 3 partners, and I liked the 3-partner split because it just felt a little bit more balanced, and it felt like it avoided the whole like 50-50 in terms of like coming to an impasse because you just disagree on how something's going to go. How do you deal with that, Ben? Like, is it more like you have your domain, and if you two disagree, you kind of win when it's your domain, but if it's his domain, then he wins? Like, how does that work out?
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. I think when it comes to like what should we ship next, what should we build, those are the biggest decisions. And we're pretty amicable about that because ultimately it's like the best idea wins, the most logical path forward. There's always a ton of room for compromise, but I think that we've also both been entrepreneurs for long enough that I will, you know plead my case very strongly. I'll be like, this is what we should do. I have all these reasons why. But if you want to dismantle that and tell me I'm wrong, I'm like immediately ready to be like, oh, you're right. Like, because I've had strong convictions and been so wrong so many times that, like, even while I will believe something strongly, but at the same time, I'm totally prepared to be proven wrong. And so we do go back and forth on what to build next sometimes, but ultimately a lot of those decisions are like just the order of implementation. Like, okay, we'll do this first and then that. The only time I think he pushes back is on occasion if there's something that people are asking for and I'm like, oh, we should do this. And I think it's going to be a small thing. And he's like, that's going to suck really bad. I don't want to make that.
Yeah,
like,
that's
and he explains why. And yeah.
It's one of your big benefits being like, I think all of us are small teams, right? Like the reality is like, by the time you've shipped the version that one of you may not have loved, the other, like the big company's still debating if they're going to do anything at all, right? You know, you have sort of the luxury of just putting out a lot and getting it wrong and fixing and iterating. Whereas, you know, huge organizations have to like negotiate every layer, right?
Yeah. And there's some degree of like, you know, if you yourself are like 3 different departments, then you don't have to spend time having these meetings. And, you know, I can do a mock-up and I can have an idea of how it's going to actually functionally work. Then Andrew will really deeply understand how it's going to work. But I can also understand what the CSS is going to look like at the same time and what I'm going to put. Like, I know what maybe needs to be on the sales page. So I can kind of think about all these things at the same time, which is would be a lot of time in meetings if this was broken up into a, you know, a bunch of different staff.
Yeah. I'll be a little bit devil's advocate. I can kind of
Sure.
sense one big Achilles heel that probably won't show up until like 5 years from now. But because it's the two of you, all of the institutional knowledge is just in both of your brains. And probably not a ton of internal documentation happening. And I've seen that happen a few different times with different teams. Like it was me actually, like me and my partner Devin, like we just battled everything out all the time and never wrote stuff down. And we were the source for everything. And until we started to hire folks, and then they're like, well, what about this? And what about this? And then we became the go-to for all of that information. And that's just like, it's just painful. But you know, this is a left curveball question. Like, do you do a lot of internal documentation or is it just spitball everything?
I would say, so we don't have a lot of shared documentation outside of GitHub. We have a tremendous amount of notes and like over 1,000 issues in there, and we do our best to document things. I would say otherwise, a lot of, you know, my documentation, I put a lot of things in Notion for myself,
Yeah.
but no, you're totally right about it. If someone else tried to just run it right now, it
Yeah,
would be really difficult.
for sure.
So, like, I fully expect that when we're ready to sell, which will be at some point, right? We are going to go through a phase of like prepping for sale, where it's like, okay, we got to clean some of this stuff up, and we
Mhm.
need to create those docs. And I, you know, would not be surprised if someone wanted to do an like acqui-hire us and they expected us to be on board for 3 to 6 months. That wouldn't be, you know, a surprise to me at all. And that's something that, you know,
Yeah.
that we have in mind.
Yeah. So but that's your intent then. That's your goal, is that you're going to grow the product with just the two of you as far as you possibly can. So it's like it's actually an anti-goal. Like you're wanting to make sure that you don't hire. Is that right?
Sort of like, well, you know, yes, it is. That is the goal, but it's not, I'm not going to be so stubborn that if that's what the business needs, I don't do it.
You don't
But the
want to
goal is
hire
to not
support?
have to.
You don't
What's
want to
up?
hire support?
Not until I feel like we really need to.
Hmm.
No, because that's a big, so that's like a major expense for a WordPress product, right? That's, you don't have to pay for hosting costs because it's a zip file, they host it. But those, you know, the customer support, that's what can scale. And that is how you can, instead of building a business, you can build a debt machine, because every customer eventually costs more in support than what you're selling it for. So that is like a major leverage point. And so I spend a lot of time um, trying to scale the way we handle support through AI and knowledge-based content, FAQs, and all those different resources.
Yeah. For sure. You're talking to two support folks, and we know
Yeah,
what it means to be a cog. So
I was chatting with Katie the other day and complaining about a support issue I was working on, and she was like, "Why are you doing that?" It's like I wanted to talk to these people. I want to talk to these like, I do it whether I need to. It's fun, whatever.
yeah,
So
Yeah, it's like it sucks, but it's also fun at the same time, and it really keeps you in touch with your market because you're like in the trenches every day,
yeah,
understanding not even just like features they're requesting and bugs they're having, but also just the language they're using and how they feel about these things.
yeah.
yeah, and I don't know about you guys, but like we have for a number of our like bigger products, we have this like this small list of customers. It's very informal, but they've become like avatars for the product. They're the people
Mhm.
that they ask for something. It's like, yeah, I mean, I don't get it, but like I get that this is our customer. We're gonna go do it. So, those people we do probably spend more time on than we need to. And like, whether it could be handed off to support, who cares? The time spent with that user is more valuable to us than it is to them, and they don't even necessarily know it.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah. Interesting. Ben, what's your take on? So you're talking about costs. So you want to reduce costs, and support is costs. Like, and if you get 1,000 tickets a week, like you got to get somebody on support. You're not there yet. Maybe you'll get there, and maybe you need support at some point or another. But until then, you have other costs. You're paying yourselves, right? Like, are you
Mhm.
lean when it comes to paying yourselves? I mean, I'm not asking you to give us a pay stub here or anything, but like, how far does your lean methodology go? Like across all the costs and all the expenses? Like,
No, we like to pay ourselves. Yeah, no, we took a while before actually the first year we didn't pay ourselves at all.
mhm,
And
mhm.
then after a year of this, I remember we both wrote ourselves a check for like $3,000. It was just like an amount that we could pay ourselves. It was something. And then we weren't able to pay ourselves enough to support ourselves for it took about 2 years
Mm,
until we were at that point. And so, yeah, now we set aside enough to build sort of a marketing war chest. In terms of reinvestment, it sounds really simple, right? Like, oh, we have more profits, we'll reinvest. And then you reinvest and it's like, well, that just lost money and that lost money and that lost money. So it's kind of sometimes difficult to find ways to spend on marketing that give you a good return. And so we've become a little bit cautious with that, but we always set aside money every single month to jump at any different opportunities that come up with marketing in particular.
yeah, yeah, I can imagine. Ian, I'd love to hear a little bit from you. Like, what's your take on this whole idea? I know that your team is not as lean as Ben's, but you're a pretty
Yeah.
small team for the amount of work that you're doing. How many folks do you have?
I
And
mean,
what
it's
parts of it?
depending on how you count, right? We only got like somewhere around 6, 7 people. We got a bunch of contractors that help out with things as well, though, right? So, that being said, we got like 40 something products, and some of them have a lot of users. There's a lot of work flowing around. And, my thoughts on like staying lean is there's this sort of like math you can do of like the time you spend on something and how much cheaper it would be to bring someone in to do that. That like there is this sort of like natural conclusion you could take that where, well, if I hired for all these things, then I have all this time to go do all the growth and the marketing that I, probably should be doing. But like, I have a very similar experience to what you're describing, man, of like, I don't know if that actually does bring quite as much magic as what it potentially could, for an org like ours, at least. But I do find like we have a lot of like measures for like the way we make decisions that are really about keeping the operations lean on intentionally. And I brought this up on prior episodes, even of like our primary support metric is conversations per 1,000 active licenses. And like every support interaction is about figuring out how to identify like what's the root cause, how do we make sure that the next person doesn't need us for this. And it really ties back to like, you go write the doc so they don't need to ask for help, or you go fix the product so they never needed it. But like every single day we're doing some of those things across our product suite, and we don't really even break it down as like on a per product basis, except for a couple of the biggest ones. It's really just, is it going to drive down these like cost levers? Is it going to help make this the most palatable solution for a new audience that we don't have yet? And if it doesn't do one of those things, we usually just don't do it, frankly.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
that does mean though that like my spot in that ends up being often tying all the things that we're missing together so that, you know, we are keeping that, like, I don't know, like well, sometimes you do it just because it's better. You know, none of the spreadsheets say that this actually matters, but, you know, we still got to squeeze in some of those, like, you know, like, where does AI go? You know what I mean? Where does AI go in this thing? You just need someone to just figure it out, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like, yeah, a big part of this, like what's enjoyable about the support is that when if you're not just answering that one person most of the time, you can turn that into something that's improving the business.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I like it when someone finds a bug, because it's like, great, we're going to improve the product, we're going to fix that.
Mhm.
And finding ways to, something I'll even do, it's tough to answer people's questions well and try to be empathetic and all those types of things. That's one mindset. But then to also have this mindset of like, oh, let me solve the root problem. That's like a different type of work. So something I actually do
Yeah.
is, in the moment, I might just be like helping the person, and then I'll revisit closed tickets with that mindset. And I'm thinking, how can I never get this email again? Like,
Mhm.
I don't want to get
Yeah.
that same subject again. And most of the time, there's something you can do. That's why, yeah, the only support questions that I really hate are the ones where, like, there's just something really weird and unique to this website, and I'm not gonna learn anything useful from this, and it's never gonna come up again.
Yeah. They're like, we have your analytics for all of our traffic, but we have another analytics just for email traffic. And you're like,
Yeah.
why? Why?
I had someone the other day, the campaign tracking works by finding, the parameters, the question mark and the ampersands. That's how you find parameters in a URL. And their site was just, any question marks, it would just turn them into hashtags. And so
Mm.
then the tracking wouldn't work. And I'm like, well, just don't do that. Why are you doing that?
I mean, it's one of the ways to stay lean is be unapologetic about it. You know, this is how you're gonna fix it, and if you don't fix it this way, it's not for you. I mean, we've ended up with a few refunds now and again for being pretty blunt on those
Yeah.
sorts of things, and I don't know, it really isn't worth it eventually. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say from my perspective, thinking back to early days of GiveWP, um, we our take in general, we had a third partner who was running our finance, and I really liked his approach to budgeting and finance overall. And he helped us to kind of basically create buckets of expenses, essentially. Now, I think the fear with like buckets of expenses is that like it gets close to the end of the year and you're like haven't spent the whole bucket, and then it's like all of a sudden you're buying a copy machine, like that kind of thing is the problem. But what it did too is it ensured that like even as we were hiring, as long as our expenses stayed in those percentage ranges. So, like for example, we knew that all of our marketing expenses, whether it was ad spend or any other sponsorships or going to WordCamps, all of that, that was going to be 15% of revenue. We just said that's set aside for marketing purposes across the board. And if we spent a lot on ad spend, that meant probably one less WordCamp or something like that. Um, and similar with our support team. Support team was also capped at 15%. We're like, we know that we're going to spend on these costs of goods sold, but let's cap it at 15% of revenue. And I felt like overall it was a good approach. I don't know if it made us particularly lean, but it definitely ensured that we had the profit
Yeah.
margin that we wanted,
Well,
regardless of how big the team got at the end of the day.
it's pretty similar to the type of constraint I think that we're hearing from you, Ben, is that, you know, you keep the two of you, what can you get done? You know, if you have a cap on how much revenue can be applied to an area, what can you get done? It's just constraints one way or another, right?
Yeah, and for us, we're choosing time constraints, maybe even more so than cost constraints. Um, and I think that we move fast enough. People, our users are satisfied with how quickly we release new features. Um, I think if we had more competitors that were moving really quickly, if they were venture funded and stuff like that, then maybe we'd be like, okay, we have to or maybe ourselves get funding if we need to hire more developers to scale and to, develop features as quickly as their competition. But that's not what our situation is. So we're content with how fast we're moving. And yeah, it's basically like an ideology that we're seeing through in sort of this works for us, so we're going to do it this way kind of approach.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, this is actually more a broad. There is something I'm hearing though that I sort of very strongly agree with of this, like, the problem of, making the product good, making support good, using it within the constraints. But then I think you and I have both shared that, like, what do we do about growth? How do you find that next bajillion users or whatever? And the fact that, like, there's this problem statement of, like, I don't know if this is an issue of expertise or time spent in an area, but there is this problem statement of, like, how do you do better at the growth part? How do you find the places to invest that money? And, like, whether you need the time, like, is it worth exploring going beyond that constraint to bring in, like, expertise or something? Like, actually, there's a genuine question, like, please help. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really, really hard finding any sort of marketing or like promotion tactic that's going to work. In fact, the only thing, like, we have on occasion hired YouTubers to do videos about independent analytics, just as like a single example. That tends to work best if they do like a dedicated video about our product. That works pretty well, but for the most part, what we spend on is, we have a marketing coach, Adam Weeks, that we hire, and that's like most months the only marketing spend is someone advising us and telling us, okay, go do this and go do that, and then it's trying to use our time effectively to get these things done. So yeah, having good guidance is probably the most important thing, because when you try to reinvest in marketing, a lot of it ends up being throwing money at stuff that kind of sort of works. And if something does work, then you're like, how much more can I spend on this? Because it actually works.
Well, you spend in two ways. You spend money or you spend time. And I mean, those are the restraints that you're dealing with all the time. And if you find, like, okay, well, we can spend, we can go and spend a whole bunch of YouTube influencer money, and that will bring a certain ROI. Or we can write a whole bunch of emails and a whole bunch of blog posts, and that's going to have a different ROI. And we don't spend a lot of money there, but we spend a whole ton of time. But in order to spend that time, then something else, as a founder or a co-founder, I'm not doing that something else. And that's where it starts to get tight, I think, where all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, here's a growth lever that I need to pull. So I have to choose, am I going to say no to all these other obligations so that I can spend all this time doing this growth lever? Or are we going to hire? Like, do you have a good example of, I'm sure you're probably thinking about those tensions like every day. But like, do you have any good examples of that?
Yeah. And well, like, social media marketing is something I'm still wrapping my head around, specifically doing like video marketing and stuff like that. We could hire someone to start pumping those out, but I do feel like we need to sort of find what works for us first before we invest in that. And my approach of dealing with this conundrum is basically to, if you're selling, if you have a job, right, you're selling your time basically. And if you are selling a service, it's the same thing. Once you sell a product, you can scale your time. But even within that product business, there are still times when you can spend time for like a one-off return. So social media marketing can be like that, where if you're posting on Facebook every day, once you're done posting, okay, you got those visitors to your site, but you're left with nothing else. And so something I try to do, even, and it's tough to do with like a lot of marketing activities, but I try to build either the product or build the website. So I'm still scaling my output. So while, I'm not knocking social media marketing, I'm trying to get more involved in that. I would rather make an improvement to our checkout page or to our homepage. Like, I'd rather make a video for our homepage necessarily than publishing a bunch of videos on social media, because those are going to come and go. Whereas the improvement to our website, that's like an asset we're building. And so it's getting better and better. So that, yeah, basically trying to focus on building what we have is a way that I'm able to improve our marketing in a way that is lasting and doesn't just come and go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I've had a couple different conversations with folks who also have similar aspirations to you, that like I want to stay lean for as long as I possibly can and not hire out. And I have my own experiences where we didn't stay lean in terms of team members or total expenses, but we did have a good sized profit margin that we enjoyed, and I felt like that was a good balance for us. And but because I have my own experiences, I have a really hard time imagining a situation where I'm like, no, I don't want to hire for that. Like, because I just constantly like, I know I can accomplish so much more if we just get somebody who's going to care about social media when they wake up every morning, because I don't. Like, but I need somebody who does, that like to me, and maybe that's my fault, like that I too quickly will want to hire rather than get scrappy. I'm not sure. I'm processing out loud a little bit. Ian, do you relate to what I'm saying?
I mean, I'm maybe, if anything, could learn a little bit from that approach. I am more than happy to just wing it. And, the thing that actually, this may be a problem, but it's like, I think I like the version that I can do in a couple hours a week is probably 80% as good as what an expert can do with like a proper investment in the effort and the time. And like, whether that's overconfidence, just wrong, it doesn't really matter. It is pretty good and it does work and number go up. And like, the second you start adding all the infrastructure of like people and like somebody to own the thing, it's like that becomes the work. And that, we've done that before, right? And it has, like, as we've scaled, there gets to a point where you literally just need somebody because the work is no longer like 80% stops being good enough, but also it isn't a few hours, it's way more hours. And like both of those things start to break, and support's like the obvious example of that, I think. But, like growth marketing, social media is a really great one where somebody who's like native to that, really great at that, they're not doing 100%, they're doing like 300%, like that. Being great at that is a skill, and like having somebody to handle that would be wonderful. Theoretically though, like once you have them, it's kind of a trap door. Like, I'm really bad at firing people, man. So it's kind of, what I mean? Like once they're there now. And, that's sort of, you're unlikely to undo it. And even if you did, the step backwards feels bad outside of the people problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, in many ways, you have to hire for things that are part of the meat and potatoes of the business.
Right.
And we all, I don't know for sure, but I feel like none of us here are micromanagers, and so none of us want to hire folks that need a whole lot of handholding. They need to know what they're doing all the time and be productive and all that kind of thing. It definitely has its risks.
There's being part of a small team gives you the opportunity of like everyone is amazing, everyone's great, and like you hand a problem to somebody and they come back not just with an answer, but then they went and fixed the 3 things next to it because they were there anyways.
Exactly.
And like that is something that the bigger a team gets, I'm sure it's possible to scale a team to thousands of people, hundreds of people, and maintain some degree of that. But like, I don't know if anyone has,
No,
so it's kind of,
it's hard to find those kinds of people, because the truth is what that requires is basically skin in the game. They have to like actually care about the business in order to do something that's more than just their job, and it's hard to find folks who want to just benefit the business in their role rather than just like punch the card.
We've done a lot of actually bringing people from support into product engineering, those types of roles at Kestrel and prior to Kestrel, partially because a lot of the times those folks, they care so much, like the empathy for the customer is so deeply rooted into just like the person, that like they will do right by a customer regardless of what role you give them, which I could go on a whole rant about that, but it's one of the ways that you can get some amount of that from folks. But
for sure,
again, it's just there's a limit to it, I would say.
Ben, I want to lean in, circle back a little bit to your example you gave about like, yeah, I could go out there, write a whole bunch of blog posts, but I know that long term it'll benefit me more to optimize my checkout. That's a choice you make for sure. But at some point, you're going to need to do those social media things too, right? How do you maintain the leanness, but still scale your marketing opportunities? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how do you actually make those choices and get the most out of your time when you don't have the people to lean on?
Yeah, so a big part of it is optimizing parts of the product and the website. So if we want to convert more free users into paying customers, something I might do is maybe we add a different button or design element into the interface itself that takes people to the pro landing page, maybe optimize that pro landing page a little bit more, maybe collect some more reviews, get some video testimonials. That's something that we want to do. Making changes to the website and to the product itself is like the way that we can scale marketing. Then when it comes to like content creation, like we have just straight up not really been doing very much of that. I used to be a big SEO guy, and that is like done. That's not really a thing anymore. We get traffic from Google because people search for independent analytics, but you look at what else ranks, and it's like, yeah, there's no shot at showing up at the top instead of Reddit and WordPress.org and stuff like that. So um, I'm basically viewing that as this level of promotion where we're really going out there and reaching higher up into the funnel, and especially reaching people who maybe aren't looking for a solution right now. I kind of view that as almost like a next phase of the business, and we're sort of getting there now. And so for me, before I start paying a bunch of other people to make content, I'm experimenting, finding what works, because my idea originally was I was going to start doing some longer YouTube videos. And I looked at other WordPress plugin businesses, a lot of them that I admire, and no one's really killing it. Like I would see very well produced videos that are like 10 minutes long, which at that quality could take 20, 30 hours to make, and
Yeah.
they'd get like 200 views. And I said, okay, I'm definitely not gonna do that or spend $2,000 to get 200 views on a YouTube video. So I've been experimenting with, what works for us. And so I think once I get that locked in, when it comes to content creation, that kind of thing, I will not be doing everything myself. I will be, using automation and outsourcing in some capacity. I don't know if that means hiring someone to do it full time, but outsourcing in some capacity for
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do want to add something there because, we haven't hired for any of that at Kestrel, and it is mostly me. Some of the other team helps out with it and all that. To question on the SEO though, it's like I think I agree that it doesn't work in the way that we think about it, like from back in the day. Just you write a lot of articles, get a lot of traffic, but like if you choose like some pages, I'm going to use WooCommerce checkout as an example because we are all over that. But the WooCommerce checkout search, you got the video section, you got the ad section, you got the actual organic section. But then to your point, like there is .org and Reddit and WooCommerce.com are going to be there. But like you can do the work of showing up in those as well, right? Like one step down the funnel. And so, make sure that somebody searches the term, they find you from the .org space, or they're on WooCommerce.com. There's ways to get there. It's a lot of high effort work to get in there. But like you can like still own a search term. It's just not like SEO. It's go do 67 different things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and actually to your point, one of the like biggest growth spurts we ever had was when our WordPress.org page, our plugin page, suddenly started ranking very highly for like WordPress analytics plugin or analytics for WordPress, something like that. It became like the first or second result, and that had a huge impact. And that's because we had carefully optimized that page, and I'd forgotten about it, right? Because it was like months, years before it suddenly did that, and then it was like a happy surprise.
Yeah.
and I'm like half convincing myself I need someone to do what I just described though, because it's like again, we've done it for 5 or 6 like search pages. And it's like the page, you pick a page instead of a bunch of keywords, and you just try to be all over the page, and it's like a way to find you. It is a lot of work though. So.
100%.
Yeah, I feel kind of like burned out with SEO after. So I have a WordPress theme shop, which I don't manage as actively anymore. But that used to get, I really leaned into the list posts for a while, and I wasn't super proud of it because it was kind of like, I don't know, it's not what you grow up wanting to do with your life, but that's what I was doing to grow for a while. And Google would release these updates, and they'd be like, oh, well, it's going to affect the search results, but it's not going to impact any individual site that much. And they'd be like, well, I just lost half my traffic, so I don't think that's true. And it has happened over and over and over again. And now I look at the results, and it was bad before they put in AI, and they put in the AI suggestions. So it's like, okay, you have to pay to play for commercial intent keywords. Now all the informational intent keywords are AI. It's gotten so tough that I think I feel really turned off with the whole thing. But looking at it in terms of like showing up on Reddit and other pages, that does make sense.
It's a little bit ironic since your product is an analytics tool, but
I can tell you how much search engine traffic you're getting and how much AI traffic you get.
Yeah. What's the alternative then? Where do you spend your time in marketing then if it's not SEO?
A lot. Well, let me see. I mean, to be honest, I don't spend that much time specifically like on marketing outside of making updates to the product and making updates to the website. I really am not doing a lot of like going out to get customers.
Yeah.
A lot of that is, the WordPress.org working for us, and then that itself ranking well, and then just capitalizing on that.
Yeah.
Getting everyone to have a good experience, converting free users to paying customers as much as possible.
Yeah.
And then of course, the brand building stuff coming on podcasts and things like that help a lot. And I think that probably helps with AI citations and stuff like that. It's more like brand building stuff, really. Occasionally paying YouTubers to do videos and things like that. So for us, it's a pretty soft touch. It's not a whole lot of going out to get customers.
Yeah. What I hear folks watching the episode right now saying already is once you got up in the search on the plugin directory, then things got a lot easier. But getting there is the hard part. Getting that your plugin, that .org starts to actually work for you, not against you. That's the hard part.
But then to tie that back to what you said about the list posts, does that not scare you to some degree, right? Like .org's pretty stable. If you're up there, you're up there. It's one of the things people complain about. But what if it changed one day, right? And that's maybe that's too much for this topic, but yeah, throw it out there anyways, right?
No, I think it's good. When we launched the product, putting it onto WordPress.org, the plugin repository, was super helpful because right away we're getting like 10 downloads a day. And that might sound like nothing, but if you have your own website, getting 10 people to actually download it a day might mean getting 1,000 people to your website every single day. So the repository helps a lot right off the bat. And then it's about building the product from there, making sure it's a really good experience, optimizing that page. But a lot of it comes from people installing and then keeping it installed. So we really started almost from scratch on the repository. The other thing, and I actually forgot about this, the other thing that did give us a good boost at the beginning was, since I had Compete Themes already, I used I forget what it's called, the TGM plugin activation plugin where it recommends other ones.
Yeah.
I put that into all my themes to recommend our plugin. So that also gave us a little jump start. It wasn't like massive, but that gave us a little bit of a jump start. A lot of our early users were Compete Themes users, but otherwise, choosing a good niche, having a good product, making it really professional and well designed through the whole experience, from when they first see the plugin page to when they use it to the email tutorials you send them, having that all work really well builds a lot of trust and gets people to continue using it. So we did rank. I forgot about, like, I was talking about the WordPress.org page ranking in Google, but as far as ranking within WordPress.org itself, that happens pretty quickly unless you choose. If you're choosing like a backup plugin or something where there's tons of solutions, that might be really tough. For analytics, there's not that many dedicated analytics plugins. So we got onto the first page pretty quickly down to, the bottom of it, and then slowly rose over time. And the number of active installs does matter a lot, but it's not the be all end all. In fact, something that actually matters a lot is the percentage of closed support tickets. So a lot of times, I'll go in there and I'll see 5 unanswered tickets. And it's all people that I answered their question, but they didn't mark as resolved, and it's been like a month. So I jump in there, mark as resolved, and we're currently, the 4th result for analytics. And then the next day we're back up to number 2.
Yeah.
And I really don't think it changes things that much when you go from number 4 to number 2 or to number 1.
Yeah.
I think just being top 4, top 6 it's not like Google. I think that's pretty much, you're getting a lot of it. So, yeah.
Actually, I had a live tweet with somebody like about a year ago. They were like, I'm great in the plugin directory all the time. All of a sudden it's way down low. What's going on? And everyone was like, oh, you should tweak this headline. You should tweak this headline. And I was like, no, you should close out your support tickets. And he did it right there during the thread. And then he's like, okay, I'm back up at 2nd. And I was like, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the algorithm has trouble deciding which one to do, and that's like a tiebreaker.
Yeah.
It's not all open, but you can actually go look at the old track tickets for when they've changed it. And they should, it is pretty straightforward how to get ranked up on there. I mean, people overcomplicate it for themselves, I would say. I did search analytics on .org, and right now you're next to Google, so I think you're doing okay.
Okay, all right.
Maybe people should copy whatever you've done as far as the right way to handle it. It's great.
There is another plugin with like 2 million installs. We have 100,000, and we rank above it sometimes. Some days we do, some days we don't. So it's not like you can't rank above those in the repository just because they have 10 times your installs. But also, you're asking me about relying on the repository. And I would say I feel much more comfortable relying on the repository than any other major tech marketplace because it's so stable. I don't trust Facebook, YouTube, Google, any of these other companies at all. But to your point, I think brand building is really the most important thing right now, because lots of our search traffic is people, at least to our website, it's branded searches. And so building the brand, being out there, that's the most important thing. We're at the point where now if someone goes on Reddit and they say, I need analytics, but I don't want there to be any cookies, people recommend us. And that's not us going out there saying, hey, try us. We're just out there at this point getting those recommendations.
Yeah, I was actually going to mention something similar to that when you were talking earlier about how great the product is, making sure they keep it and keep using it, that value. When you don't need social media quite as much if other people are, we get compared to the other big solution automatically. And it's I agree with what people say on Reddit, but they say it for us. So it's great. Yeah. Sorry, I cut you off, Matt. Go for it.
No, that's good. I was saying this has been great. And I think it's about time for best advice. What do you guys think? Yeah. Let's
do it.
Ian, what is your best advice to folks who are trying to stay lean?
I mean, it really is just a matter of choosing to stay lean. I mean, I know it sounds very dumb, but it's ultimately I think that very much what Ben has been saying, you can support a lot of users with very few people. If you just care enough, you try really hard, you're willing to sort of bounce around and do all the various things. I will say, though, that for us as a company, having sort of these measures in place that help people make decisions on their own around, should I spend time on fixing this weird bug? Well, does it impact a lot of users, or, is it one person? And sort of building that into your sort of standard procedures for operating is really helpful. Give people the tools to know that they are supposed to help make it easier to support more users with fewer people in their day-to-day work.
I'll just say my best advice for folks, honestly, is I like the bucketing your expenses approach that we did. It's not necessarily the objective to be lean necessarily, but it is a way to make sure you're controlling your costs and scaling your company in a way that you feel good about at the end of the day. And if you decide that those buckets are going to be smaller in order for your team to be leaner, you could do that too. You just make different choices in terms of how big each expense should be. But I think the other buckets that you have to think about, besides just how you bucket your budget itself, is how you bucket your time. I do think that in order to stay pretty lean but still get all the work done, time blocking is probably the most important skill that you can develop, honestly, because the temptation when you are the end all be all of like all the things like Ben is, and like I was in my business too, is it gets so frenetic. It's like there's 25 things I could do right now. Well, let me just do a little bit of all of them instead of, and then you basically do none of them over the course of an hour.
This might be a little too honest, but it's really easy to procrastinate by doing the work you like. It's really easy to just go do the thing that you think is easy, pleasant, and use that as a way to not do the one or two things that are really going to move the needle today.
It's a good one. Maybe we should add a segment to the show called Confession Time.
Yeah.
Very Catholic on everybody. Come on.
Hey, man, I do it a lot. But yeah, it is support. I like helping people. It is what it is. Yeah. Sorry.
Ben, I saved the best for last. What's your best advice to folks who want to stay lean?
Sure. So I would say take stock of everything you're doing to run your company and try to find any work that is kind of one-off and see if you can make it scale in some way. So if you're answering an email, is there a new knowledge base article you could add so that the next person answers it on their own? Or if you're publishing a video on social media, can you also publish that somewhere on your website so that people can keep watching it and enjoying it over time?
Love it. Great advice.
Amazing, yeah.
Well, folks, that is a wrap. Ben, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find you online?
We can find, you can go to independentwp.com to check out our product. We're also on X at Analytics for WP, and we're on Facebook, Blue Sky, YouTube, everywhere you want to look us up.
Awesome.
Yeah, and if you guys are enjoying these shows, do us a favor, subscribe, hit the button on YouTube, stop right now, do it. It's free, it's easy, and it's the best way you can help other people discover the show. Thank you.
And next
special thanks to Freemius again, actually. I'm supposed to say that. Yeah, there we are.
I'm supposed to say that. Man, today's been great on the workflow front. We've been so good, so dialed in.
It's on top of it all. It's perfect.
Next week, we're going to have Ben Pines with us. I'm excited about this one. Ben's a great guy who's been in the space for a long time. He wants to talk about founder-led marketing. I will say I'm going to put a post out today, tomorrow. We have a great season. Ben Sibley, two Bens, back-to-back Bens. Sorry about that. It kicked off our new season, and we have 8 episodes coming up that are jam-packed. It's a bit marketing heavy, I have to say, which honestly, most of our audience is always asking, I need some more marketing tips. So you're going to love this season, and we will see you all again next week. Thanks so much. Have a good one.